we are talking David Arquette's WCW World Championship run. Now, this all started when David Arquette was in a movie called Ready to Rumble. This movie was partially funded by Time Warner, which owned WCW, and WCW stars were in the movie because it's a wrestling movie. And a WCW star was stunt coordinator, Chris Kanyon, RIP Chris Kanyon. Now, David Arquette had to learn to wrestle to be in the movie because it required him to do some wrestling, which he was taught by Chris Kanyon and Diamond Dallas Page and by his stunt double, Shane Helms, later to be known as Hurricane Helms. Now, in WCW, originally they didn't have the idea to put the WCW World Title on him. This idea, according to Vince Russo, was came up with by Tony Schiavone after that week's meeting. Vince Russo thought it was brilliant, as of course Vince Russo would, because he's Vince Russo, and he is the Swerve King. It's a big swerve. So he called everybody back into the meeting, brought it up, and everybody in the meeting thought it was a good idea, as they would, because this was WCW in 2000, and nobody knew what they were doing. And so they decided to do it. Now, David Arquette, when it was brought up to him, he said, hell no. No one will want me as champion. The wrestlers will hate me. The fans will hate me. This is a bad idea. But Vince Russo told him that they will not promote the movie on WCW TV, even though WCW wrestlers are in it, and it is a wrestling movie, if he is not the champion. So David Arquette reluctantly agreed. Now, it all started with David Arquette appearing in the crowd during I believe it was a Thunder, but it might have been a Nitro. I know he won it on a Thunder, so it might have been the Nitro before the Thunder. And Diamond Dallas Page was the champion, got into an altercation with Jeff Jarrett. David Arquette ran into the ring and got involved and took several bumps. Now, the next Thunder, they made a match for Diamond Dallas Page and David Arquette versus Jeff Jarrett and Eric Bischoff, with the winner gaining the WCW Championship, which WWF has made matches similar to this. But most of them have actual wrestlers in them, not an actor and a WCW executive. So David Arquette was jumped throughout the night by Bischoff and Jarrett, and Page tried to convince him not to wrestle, but he decided to anyways, and was immediately jumped outside the ring and taken out. Now, Kimberly Page, who was Diamond Dallas Page's wife but was playing a heel at the time, would not count pinfalls until Diamond Dallas Page kissed her, which took her out of the match, and she was the referee. And a new referee came down, and then Arquette came in, speared Bischoff, and pinned him, though he was not the legal man. Eric Bischoff was, but David Arquette was not the legal man, and got the pinfall, giving him the WCW Championship, and him and Page celebrated in the ring, though Page just lost his WCW Championship. I don't know why you'd celebrate losing your WCW Championship to an actor. They shot some vignettes with Arquette as the WCW Championship. One on his new movie 3,000 Miles to Graceland, where his wife, Courtney Cox, at the time, told Kurt Russell that he was the now WCW Championship, at which Kurt Russell laughed and walked off. others with his wife Courtney Cox trying to convince him not to wrestle, and then one with him backstage begging them to take the WCW title off him, and him wetting himself, which was not how I'd go with someone who is the WCW champion. And though he did beg them to take the title off him. I'm still getting over this bug, but I am feeling better. A lot better. He did have one title defense against Tank Abbott. Technically, he had two title defenses, but his first title defense was against Tank Abbott, which he won with Page's help. He held it for a total of 4 shows. His last title defense was at Slamboree, which he defended against Page and Jarrett in a triple cage match, triple tiered cage match, which was known as a triple cage match in WCW, which they'd done before and was also featured in Ready to Rumble, and where he turned on Page and helped Jarrett win the championship. And he appeared on WCW TV a couple more times and then left forever. And then David Arquette later returned to wrestling in 2020 and tried to redeem his reputation as an old man trying to wrestle. Yeah, and this was shown in the movie David Arquette Will Not Die or something like that. It was called David Arquette Will Not Die. Something like that was the name of the documentary. It's on Tubi. Ready to Rumble's on Tubi. Ready to Rumble is an extremely stupid movie, but I enjoy it. I bet my light goes out again because my computer just went into standby mode. Again. It's being haunted again because I'm talking about wrestling. Gotta figure out what's wrong with this. I'm thinking it's a ghost. Anyways, this was cited as one of the main reasons for WCW's failure was putting the championship on David Arquette as one of the top main reasons. Personally, I think the main reason for WCW's failure was they was massively in debt. And they didn't want to own a company that was massively in debt after the AOL Time Warner merger. But that's for another video. I would love to make several videos going over why WCW went out of business, and I might one day. Yeah, this is known as one of the worst ideas in WCW history. Slamboree had a 0.2% buy rate, according to most people who think they know what the buy rate was, though it was never released. The segment where David Arquette won the title was one of the lowest rated segments in Thunder history, and it was cited as one of the worst ideas in wrestling history. Though Vince Russo still thinks it was a good idea, and Jeff Jarrett thinks it was a good idea. Next week, I don't know what we're talking about, but I want to get off here before my light goes dead. I have no idea next week, but I want to get off here before my light goes dead. Give me ideas, people.